In this experiment, the determination of water content, here are some of the things you need. First, clay soil. Second, empty moisture can. Third, a digital scale. Lastly, an oven. You may also use a trowel or a spatula to move the soil into the moisture cans. Before going through with the experiment, make sure that all materials are clean. First, we start off by determining the mass of an empty moisture can. The group must not forget to label the moisture cans. Place a sample of the wet clay soil into the can and determine the mass of the can and the soil. Place the can containing the soil into the oven at a temperature of 110 degrees Celsius until it is dry. After some time, remove the soil from the oven. Make sure to check that the soil is dry before proceeding. Record the combined weight of the can with the now dry soil. In this experiment, we will be determining the specific gravity of soil solids. Here are some of the things you need. A digital scale, a 500 ml volumetric flask, a thermometer, a hot water bath, distilled water, a wash bottle, a funnel, mittens or pot holders, and long-handled swabs. Before proceeding with the experiment, make sure that everything is clean. To start it off, take your 500 ml volumetric flask and place it on the digital scale. Record its mass. Fill the flask with distilled water. The lower meniscus should be tangent to the mark on the neck of the flask. Take the long-handled cotton swab and dry the outside of the flask by blotting any water inside of the neck of the flask. Take and measure the mass of the flask with the water using a digital scale. Place the thermometer inside of the flask and measure the temperature of the water. Record the temperature. Pour 1/3 of the contents of the volumetric flask inside a container that can be heated to make the hot water bath. Immerse the flask in the hot water bath at a temperature of 25 degrees Celsius for about 10 minutes. Using the pot holders, take the volumetric flask out of the hot water bath. Using a funnel, pour the distilled water into the flask up till it reaches the calibration on its neck. Agitate the flask to ensure uniform water temperature. Blot the water inside of the neck using a long-handled swab. Place a thermometer inside of the flask and record its temperature. Measure the mass of the flask containing the heated water. Repeat the process of pouring 1/3 of the flask's contents into the hot water bath till taking its temperature out of the hot water bath for when the hot water bath's temperature is at 30 degrees Celsius, 35 degrees Celsius, and 40 degrees Celsius. Using a funnel, pour distilled water into the volumetric flask till it reaches 1/3 full. Take and measure the mass of the flask with the water using a digital scale. Prepare the sandy soil sample and make sure that it is 100 grams. Using a makeshift funnel, pour the sandy soil into the volumetric flask. Place the flask with the soil onto the scale and record its mass. Clean the neck of the volumetric flask by pouring water using a wash bottle or a pipette. Agitate the flask for around 10 minutes. Prepare the hot water bath. Place the flask into the hot water bath for around 10 minutes. Remove the volumetric flask from the hot water bath. Using a funnel, pour distilled water into the volumetric flask till it reaches the 500 ml calibration mark. Clean the neck of the flask using a long-handled swab. Record the mass of the flask with a solid.
7 hours later.